What's up, guys? Welcome back to the fourth episode of Two Pros and an Average Joe. I'm your average Joe, Brady Hanna, and I am joined by.
Woohoo! Good day, mates. It's Big Jerm down under. Oh, yeah. I've been, yeah. I've been in bed for 65 straight hours, so I'm kind of delirious right now, but how's everyone doing up there?
That might be the worst Australian accent I've ever heard. What up, guys? Uli here, just in Arizona, enjoying the beautiful weather. Not being sick like Jerm, which is awesome.
Shut up. You.
So, Brady, what do you have for us tonight?
Tonight, I've got a interesting lineup planned. And the fact that I don't have a whole lot planned, except I wanted to talk to you guys about what you think of, the future of the game and kind of how your last week went on tour. Travel story from Jerm, maybe. Paul, I know you played a tournament. Start off with just kind of how your last week went, and then we'll jump into the future of the game.
Well, man, I played a tournament here in Arizona this weekend, the Maricopa Meadows Open, 2-round tournament, B tier, and honestly, it was actually a pretty crazy weekend. The first round was top 3 worst conditions I've ever played in. It was 50-mile-an-hour gusts of wind. To give you kind of like a insight of how it was, the first round, the best score was a +3, and I think the second round, the best score was -14. So a pretty big spread
smokes.
there. Yeah, the conditions were crazy. First round, I shot a +5. I was 3 back of my brother, who was +2, actually. He might have been +2. And then second round, I really didn't have anything for that place, man. And I finished in 4th place. Seppu Paju came in from Finland, and he was able to take it down. He had a really impressive second round. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I did this past weekend.
He really gets on some streaks, Seppo is a very, very streaky player, and when his putter gets going, there's really no one better in the game. I've witnessed him come off the plane straight from Finland to Charlotte, and then drove straight to Rock Hill to warm up for the USDGC, and out of the car, birdied holes 1 through 12 with the ropes and everything. He was 12 under through 12 holes, and that was that was before Prodigy. So he was probably only like 15 or 16 at the time. And when I witnessed that in person, I was like, this kid is like beyond good. Like, he's got that special element that makes a player go from good to like outstanding. So yeah.
Now, Paul, worse than the windstorm you played in April with me?
Yeah, it was worse for sure. And it was worse for different reasons. I mean, the conditions me and you played in were pretty bad, but this course is a really tight course. OB left, OB right on almost every hole. So tight fairways, and it was just impossible to keep it in bounds. So when I say conditions, I mean like the course and then what we had to deal with the wind. It was like next to impossible. I mean, almost every hole, the basket's on a hillside. I actually do have something funny that happened this weekend. I was on a card behind a guy. His name's Andrew Bomey. He's actually a pretty good player, 1,000-rated player. He had, I would be willing to bet, a world record amount of spit outs. I witnessed it with my own 2 eyes. I'm not kidding. He had 12 dead center spit outs. And that's coming from me who saw it. So if you were to ask him, I'm sure he would say it was like 15. But I saw them. He had 12 legitimate dead center spit outs. I'm not I don't want to throw him under the bus, but I went and I kind of
It's not
gave him
his
a
fault.
hug because it was so bad. And
It's not his
I
fault,
swear he was almost in tears. Like, it was that
Never
bad
played
to where
You're just looking at your hands and you're like, how do I do this?
he had 5 on
What?
one hole. It was 5 on one hole. Like, he couldn't putt out because it just wouldn't stay in. It was on a high-rise basket, and it was – I mean, we laugh about it, but I couldn't imagine that. And I saw it. Like, it was – you hear people be like, yeah, I had like 4 spit-outs today, and really they like almost pretty much airballed like 2 of the putts, and they had 1 spit-out. Like, this guy hit the pole, came out 12 times.
I would have not golf ever again.
Well, I don't have any funny stories like that one, but I did get to play one round down here in Australia on Sunday. There was a random draw doubles event out here, and showed up feeling pretty well. I'm actually feeling perfectly healthy, and I was still kind of dealing with my. Actually, you know what? This is a pretty funny story. I was kind of dealing with my pinched nerve still in my left leg, and that had turned into shin splints in my left leg. So the combination of those two was kind of annoying. Well, on the very first practice hole, I'm walking down to the putting green, and I sprained my left ankle. And I'm like, all right, what else could possibly happen right now with this leg? That was just practicing. So when we actually had the round, once we got partnered up, and we're about 7 holes in, and my partner and I started off the doubles with 7 straight pars and best shot. So that wasn't a good start at all, obviously. And on the 7th tee shot, I throw my tee shot, and I walk off the green, or I walk off the tee, and I roll my ankle a second time, the same ankle. So
why?
I had a pinched nerve, a shin splint, and 2 rolled ankles in the same ankle, all in the same leg. So my left leg I was just hobblesome, and that was the last day that I saw outdoors. That was Sunday, and right now it is Wednesday morning down here in Australia. Although we are filming Tuesday night back in the States. So anyway, so I'm in the future right now, but since then I came home after that, and I've been in bed for 65 consecutive hours with some pretty serious flu symptoms. So it's
What are
looking
the
like
chances that you play?
I'm gonna say there's like a 2% chance that I play. Every time I stand up, I feel dizzy. I've been literally in bed for 64 to 65 hours, and I've been outside of this 10-foot radius for maybe 45 minutes in the last 3 days, and that's just been going to the bathroom.
Do you think if you play and win, they'll make a movie about you? Or
Oh man!
really is punishing you
If
because
I play and win, they better give me the PDJ cover next time, because I didn't get it last time. Yeah.
I bet Australia is like fighting back against you because they knew you were going to tell such a terrible story about that on Tuesday.
I think that's true.
What? A terrible story. What do you want me to tell you?
Well, you got shot and rolled your ankle twice and got bitten by a koala, right?
No, I didn't get bit by a koala. Apparently, all the koalas are actually in national parks. There's no wild koalas to be found in Australia.
Have you had a chance to flare up and
That's
punch?
where they get you. That's where they get you with those pamphlets.
They get you with those pamphlets.
Have you had to try and box a kangaroo yet?
I haven't had a chance to box a kangaroo yet, no. I haven't even seen one because I've been inside for 3 straight days, and unfortunately, koalas don't live inside apartment buildings. So,
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. I didn't do anything this week, so we'll just skip right over what I did.
Yes,
what?
but yeah, I'm just gonna try to heal up, and hopefully I'll be able to play the New Zealand Open next weekend. At least be able to play one tournament while I'm down here. But yeah, this week's been a wash. It's been a pretty big disaster. But anyways, what was
Sorry to
good?
hear that, Jerm.
Because you're upside down, technically, from where you normally
I think
are.
it's a lot of like blood rushing to my head, so I think it's because I'm upside down.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So transitioning, I know you guys wanted to talk about the future of the game. You guys both mentioned that you have some exciting thoughts to share on things you've seen in Europe and here about the future, and I'd love to hear your guys' take on those.
Well, yeah, I think that part of the exciting thing about the future of the game is also kind of understanding the past, and I think that's an important place to start when you talk about that subject. Is that I've been playing for 10 and a half years now, and in that amount of time, I've seen so many incredible changes that I guess I never really thought that we'd be at the place that we are right now in the game. And so it's exciting to kind of gauge where we might be in the future, especially with all these brand new tours developing and all these excited tournament directors choosing different avenues to promote the game, get it on television, promote a fan fair, get the fans involved so that they want to participate. And that's how we bring in sponsors, and that's how we bring in legitimate cash into the sport, which kind of brings a legitimacy, even though I feel like all the athletes that are in the game understand that it's a legitimate sport. But I think once you start having exposure nationally, and people, you don't have to explain the game every single time somebody sees your discs. They're like, "What the heck is that?" I think that once it starts becoming more of a household name, that's when we kind of know we made it. And I've seen giant leaps in the 10 years that I've been around. I feel like when I first started playing and I was explaining this new passion that I had, a lot of people were like, disc golf, I've never heard of that. And I feel like we still get that occasionally, but it seems like, just in that short period of time, it's no longer, what is that? It may be, I didn't know you could do that professionally, or, oh yeah, I've got a friend who does it professionally. How much can you make? Like people know what the game is, and that's a big step. So I think that's exciting, just kind of taking where we've come from to where we are now. But it's equally exciting seeing or just imagining what the next 10 years has to come.
Yeah. You hit on some really good points there. My thoughts are, I feel like we're still in a very vulnerable state. And now let me explain that. I think that with all the tours and the professionalism, or on the pro side, everything's growing very fast. That's a good thing, but we can't forget about what makes that happen, like the foundation of disc golf. And unfortunately, the foundation of disc golf is a recreational sport. I mean, it's in the parks, you play it for free. So how do you build the sport aspect on that? And I think what I would love to see in the future is for it to somehow be more in the schools. I know that we have the collegiate program, and that's growing exponentially every single year, which is amazing. But in order for it to grow even past what me and Jerm could even ever imagine, it has to be in the school system. It has to come from the kids. Do you agree, Jerm?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our culture is so different than Europe's culture, and one of the things that's so exciting when we go to Europe is seeing all the kids playing the game. Right? Would you agree with that, Paul? That when we go over there,
and
the kids are involved with the culture. They're wearing the disc golf gear. They're in packs of kids that are their same age. It's the cool thing to do. And
right, and we get compared to like skateboarding, snowboarding with the culture and that sort of thing, and that there are a lot of you're right, there are a lot of similarities, but the thing that we really need to touch base on is it is a sport. it's an activity that if you put it in the schools, it will grow because you're getting these kids outside. They're exercising. There's so many places for them to go do it. It's free, all that stuff. And that's where the potential is to me. With skateboarding or snowboarding, you can't really put that in the schools. You can't teach that. It can't be an activity that people do in, as a kid in the schools and be taught. But disc golf, it has that. And that's, to me, the biggest potential for us is really the sky's the limit when it comes to that.
Well, I think that when you talk about putting it in schools, what you're doing is obviously you're developing this love for the flight and the concept of the golf game, where you're trying to complete something in as few tosses or as few strokes as possible. That concept, if that's instilled in children, it's going to flourish as they get older. And that's one of the biggest things that Europe has on America right now is that they have the kids involved, and that's why we're seeing so many young talents come out of Europe. And we still see a lot of young kids coming out of America. Like obviously Eagle Wynn McMahon is just an absolute phenom, and he's only 18 years old, and he plays like he's in his mid-20s. He plays like a seasoned vet, but I feel like in the next 10 years, we may see some of the best players in the world actually shift from being American-born to European-born because of that. And but one of the things I actually wanted to talk about with getting disc golf in schools is that with discs and full-size baskets, it's kind of difficult to, even with lightweight discs and with proper training, it's very difficult to teach a kid who has smaller hands and doesn't quite understand their body as well as an adult or a teenager even, how to throw a disc properly. That's where I feel like this whole new mini game that Discraft has come out with could be a huge breakthrough to just getting the concept of disc golf into schools. Because if they do come out with a whole lineup of different discs that are of the mini discs and a basket that suits that size disc, that could be the perfect segue between not having disc golf in school and the sport that we know as disc golf with the full-size discs and baskets.
And the great thing about disc golf is that now that Discraft has had success with it, it's now a race to see who's going to copy it first. And then eventually we'll just have everybody has that stuff.
Yeah, I've actually heard a couple different companies that are, they're kind of kicking themselves right now because they've had that idea. They've been sitting on it. They really weren't quite sure if there was a market for it, and they kind of just put it on the back burners. And Discraft, they took a leap. And if you haven't played catch up with one of those things, you're missing out. It's a lot of fun. They fly like a disc should. And it's easy for a young child to throw one of those because they can get their hands around that rim. And it's safer to throw than a max weight disc, or even if it's not a max weight disc, but just a full size disc in general is going to produce more pain if an errant throw hits somebody, than let's say a mini buzz. So I think that right there can that safety is a huge part about the education of getting disc golf in schools. And I think we still know people who play in pack golf where their friends are walking in front of them while they're playing, and that's something that when teaching schools how to bring disc golf into their school system, you'd have to really focus on making sure that they know the different rules and etiquettes behind the sport so that nobody is hurt.
And one thing I know I've talked about with Nate Heinold, who's the Ledgestone TD, is that we're going to lay down a pretty wicked cool mini course at the Ledgestone this year for people to play.
Sweet.
Because those nukes, have you thrown the nukes yet, Jerm? They go so far.
Oh, they make the mini nukes now?
Yeah, they came out with nukes and challengers already.
Okay.
I
And nuke-
actually
Yeah,
threw one of the proto nukes. Dan Ginley had one at our local league here, and I threw one around. Oh my goodness, the thing went as far as a regular disc. You had to modify your throw a little bit, but it was amazing. It really was. It was really fun to throw.
Yeah, really good on Discraft for that. And I think that, you talk about copying Discraft, and basically they're the first ones to do it, and somebody has to be the first. And I think that the mini golf, just like mini golf and like real mini golf, there's mini golf competitions, and there's people who are insane with mini golf. I think that there's a legitimate um, desire for an actual legitimate disc golf, a mini disc golf. And I don't feel like what we have right now with the minis that we typically use and the mini baskets that we typically see is legitimate. There's just too many. It's just putts hardly stay in. It's just a bit too difficult, and it's kind of hard to control a mini disc into any kind of wind. I mean, I think many people may disagree with me, and it's just kind of hard to wrap your hand around with these mini buzzes, and I guess the mini nuke. I haven't thrown it yet, but
You're like
they're
6'9", dude. Of course, it's hard to
Yeah.
wrap your hand around it.
Okay, of course, but you feel like you can control like any size a normal mini disc. I mean,
Yeah, it feels normal in my hand. We're not giants.
Yeah,
Jesus.
my hands are a little bigger, but I think they made them for Donald Trump. Actually, I heard he's got.
These little tiny,
my
tiny,
God.
little tiny hands. When can we turn this podcast from disc golf podcast into just a political podcast? Because I feel like that's what people really want to listen to.
Good question though, Brady. Yeah, I think that to answer your question in like in just like a little paragraph, I think that the sky is the limit with disc golf, and I think that I never thought that I would see it grow as much as it has grown. I never thought that I'd see it grow this much, so I'm very lucky.
Yeah, me neither. Honestly, the amount of growth that I've seen, for a while I felt like there was a governor on how much growth that I would see in my playing days, and we've well surpassed that governor that I'd set for myself, or what I thought that I would see, and it's exciting to be a part of it.
Yeah, there's a legitimate time in my life where I thought to myself, like, okay, you have to like grow up and get a real job. Like, this isn't going to,
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
But now I think that I'll be doing something in disc golf my whole entire life.
The same for me. I didn't think that I could afford to live the lifestyle that I wanted to live, and have it be within the sport of disc golf for the rest of my life. But that's certainly the case now, and I know that one way or another I'll be contributing with tournament direction or course design or basket design, which I'm obviously very, very, very adamant about, or graphic design or whatever, for the rest of my life. But it'll be through the avenue of disc golf. So that's exciting.
Yeah, that's good that's great to hear, because you guys have actually been playing and been around the sport a lot longer than I have. I didn't really get into it till really my senior year of high school, which was only, I don't know, 5 years ago. So just in my time, seeing the amount of tournaments put on in the state of Iowa, I bet it's almost tripled, if not for sure doubled. There's something here every day of the weekend in some part of the state. And sometimes there's 2 or 3 tournaments. It's just been crazy to see the growth, because when I first started playing, I would have to drive a couple hours just to get to a tournament. And now, you're not driving more than 100 miles, really. So it's been just crazy to see the explosion of players coming to these events and number of events. And then even if you look at number of successful companies we've seen pop up on the business side of things, you've got Legacy Discs, MVP, The couple of the trilogy brands have really grown, and disc golf's supporting all of these right now versus probably when you guys started out, it was mainly just Innova, Innova
It was Discraft, Innova, and then Gateway was like the third.
Wizards. So.
Which is crazy. I'm actually, I think we'd all be very excited to hear the listeners' response on how you feel the game has grown. What things in the amount of time that you have been around in the sport, what changes have you seen take place? And we'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And maybe next week we can touch on some of the listeners' responses to that.
Yes, that would be awesome. Listener feedback is great. I would like to kind of go over really quick who had the hot round of the weekend. Curtis Manahan, our numbers guy, got me the information. It looks like a 10:59 from, oh gosh, I can't find the screenshot now. What was his name, Jerm?
North Carolina. Honestly, I don't know. Sorry.
Actually, I don't think that's correct. I think that there was a higher rated round in where I think Philo and Nico, I think Nico might have shot a 1080. Don't quote me on that, but I think
that was
Taiwan?
the final nine.
No,
that wasn't the final nine.
I think I still think that maybe second or third round. I think it was second round. Nico might have shot 1070 to 1080. So we might need a new numbers guy.
Oh, gee. Unofficial hot round was 10:59 by Scott Conway at the 2017 Eco Tour in Rock, North Carolina.
North Carolina.
And do you know who that is, Jerm?
Yeah, near. I think I do. I don't know, man. Honestly, I've played so few tournaments in North Carolina over the last couple of years that a lot of the local names that have kind of developed are just passed on me because I typically only play national events and I just kind of missed out on a lot of the local scene over the last couple of years.
Well, apparently there's a lot of good players. If they're popping 1059s, man, hats off. That's a great round.
Especially with not many, big players showing up to fuel those, inflate those ratings for them,
Yeah, he's had a 42. I don't know exactly. What was the tournament again?
It was the something Eco Open.
Do you know where it was?
It was Rocky Mount, North Carolina, 2007.
Oh, yeah.
Eco Tour.
42, that's hot. That's real hot.
And then Zachariah Johnson shot a 1057 and averaged 1045 at the Fort Worth Chili Bowl.
So apparently Nico did shoot a 1080.
What event did Nico do that at?
That was at the Heisen Brownie in Thailand. Yeah,
I'm sorry. I just think that's a funny name, Heisen Brownie.
And that was the last. Event that he played international on this trip out here because his visa got denied and he actually can't play in Australia this week.
Oh, he can't play in Australia.
Yeah, apparently there's a lot of that going around. Jerm, you're not going to be able to play. Nico's out. Macbeth had travel issues. Seems like a lot of
playing
stuff's going on.
Yeah, they say everything in Australia tries to kill you, but really all it is they just want to keep you from playing their damn tournaments. That's all they're really trying to do is just.
Yeah, and they make you pay to go see koalas. It's on the pamphlet,
you can't even see them in the wild anymore. I know it's on the freaking front page of the pamphlet.
Koalas are always on the pamphlet.
Yep. The first thing you see.
Well, it sounds like our numbers guy made it 2 weeks before we fired him. So.
Oh man.
For a new one.
What else you got for us, Brady?
We had a question submitted, and I thought this might be an interesting one for you guys to finish up on. and that was, what would you say would be your coolest shot ever? What shot did you throw that maybe even surprised you a little bit with just how incredible it worked out for you? And that was submitted by Larry McDingle Berries out of
Good old
South.
Larry.
I know Larry
yeah,
personally. Larry always
No, go
comes up
ahead,
with
Jerm.
great questions. No, I just wanted to say that Larry and I, we go back. So,
Really?
anyways. Yeah. You go ahead first, Paul.
I don't know if I can.
Oh, good old Larry.
You and the McDingle Berry family hung out.
Yeah. No, yeah, we have some good times back in the toilet for sure. So. No, it's a good question though, Paul. You probably have way cooler shots to go through than I do. So why don't you go ahead and tackle this one first?
Well, yeah, my shot is actually happened this year, and Jeremy Koling was my doubles partner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I the shot that I made for Circle 3, that made it to ESPN was by far surprised me. Just the situation that it happened in, and I don't know, I guess the kind of zone that I was in. I did a couple things that I've never done before.
Like call your partner off his shot.
Yeah. Me and Jerm had already thrown OB twice, and Jerm was about to throw OB again when I called him off the tee pad.
Just to clarify, we had both thrown out of bounds once, but we had thrown 2 shots out of bounds, so we were throwing our 3rd shot. Just to clarify.
Right, and Jerm stepped up to throw another shot, and
OB.
I just had a feeling that I should go first, and I called him off the shot and stepped up. And I mean, people might believe me or not believe me, but I was trying to make it, and I think by my reaction, I might make a couple people into believers because I've flipped out. It was the best shot I've ever thrown. It was the best shot that I've personally ever seen, and that's not just to pump myself up. I mean, honestly, it was nuts.
Yeah, you have that vision, and that's so funny that you say that, because before we stepped up to that second shot, or our third shot, I had the same vision, but I didn't know if it was going to be me or you, but I saw like one of us acing it. I don't know why I had that in my head. And again, it's one of those things that like, it doesn't sound believable. Like me telling you that, you'd be like, yeah, that just seems like a fairy tale. But like, it was like, I didn't think it was going to happen, but like I had this vision of it happening, like I like saw it in my mind. I saw the line. I saw like just the excitement of the reaction in my head. I had already envisioned it. And so when it happened, it was just like my hands went on my head like, oh my God, like this is so surreal. Like, did that just really happen? So I have to say maybe the best shot I've ever thrown was the one that went out of bounds before that, because that led up to that moment. No, that was so special. And that really did set the tone for easily the best week of my life. First off, that was on my birthday. That was on October 2nd.
And I promised you a birthday ace.
He promised me a birthday ace. We got the birthday ace. We won mixed doubles. And then obviously, what happened the next week there at the USAGC. So that was just some incredible next world type stuff.
Really big. I'll never play that 4th round, Jerms. So.
Oh God, Jesus. So yeah, I guess. Well, maybe I should have gone first because mine is not nearly as great as that. I guess like first, if we're talking about like tournament shots, I'd probably have to say my last shot at Am Worlds in 2008. That's a shot that I'll never forget. It's at the Timber Ridge ski slope or ski resort in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And going into the hole, it was the very last hole in the final 9, and I was up by 11 strokes. And although, I know in my mind that I had won the event, I still was pressing, and I still knew that I couldn't let up, even though it was the last hole and I was up by 11 strokes. I can't explain that because I was so determined that week that was just the way I attacked the whole week. And the hole is 820 feet, and it's like an incredibly steep downhill incline. There is video of this shot. You'd have to do a little research to find it. But I took a Nate Dost ESP Surge, and I remember actually, before we actually get into the shot, I remember David Wiggins. He was 13 years old. He had just won the 19 and under juniors world title, and him and his best friend at the time, Andrew Coggin, ran up the hill to follow the final holes of the Am Worlds. And David comes up there and he's like, "You got to go for the green. You got to go for it." And I was like, I can't get there. Like I'd actually practiced that hole warming up for the tournament, even though we didn't play that specific hole. I just wanted to throw a shot from that tee pad all the way down to the lodge, which is right behind the basket. And I couldn't get there trying to throw backhand. And so basically I decided that I was going to throw a sidearm just to kind of keep it safe and try to get myself within like maybe 80 to 100 feet if I don't know if I could possibly get it that far even. And I ended up throwing like a hyzer flip surge, the Nate Dost ESP surge. And at a certain point when it flipped up and turned over, I knew that it was going to be close, just because it was holding this long anhyzer, but it wasn't like losing its integrity and going to roll over. And it just held on this line for so long. And when it landed, from the top of the hill, the green machine was this new invention that the Scientific Disc Golf, which is David Wiggins and his father, they had this company, and they had this green machine, which was just basically a 10-meter chain that you wrap around the pole and you attach spray paint to it. And it was like the very first time that we ever saw 10-meter circles drawn out. And it was the first time you'd ever seen this. So you could actually see what the 10-meter circle looked like from up there. And from up there, it looked like an ant. And my goal was just to kind of get it close to that circle. But when my disc landed, it finished about 25 feet away from the basket, and it hit inside the circle. And I just remember losing my mind, because that was in the moment was like, okay, the tournament's over. You've actually officially won. You can't screw up 11 strokes. Not that that was even possible, but like that was the final moment where I was like,
oh I'm sure you could have done it. But go ahead.
Well, fortunately, I hit the eagle putt for 2 to win by 12. So it was but that's definitely that's a shot that I'll never forget that one.
Nice.
I guess
I'll quickly share mine, if you guys don't mind. I was about
one time Brady made a putt from 30 feet. Next story.
Wow, that 30-footer was good, Brady. I remember that too.
I was about 30.
Anyways, Jerm, what other cool stuff have you done?
I was about 35 feet, maybe one step outside the circle. And the wind was blowing, about a 4-mile-an-hour crosswind, and the leaves were rustling. And it was a light downhill putt. And I made it. It went in.
No way.
Yeah. It was the same bogey 4, but it was an it was a putt that
is so funny
for quite some time.
No, what's your best shot story, Brady?
I have not thrown anything memorable, honestly. I don't have anything.
Wow. Okay, I'll tell. I'm gonna tell one more story.
I've made a couple
so that to replace Brady's story of not doing nothing.
I guess. It's right in
Okay,
a
so
few days. I don't know about that. It was pretty good.
okay, I'm going. Okay. Thanks, Brady. Thank you. No, honestly, one shot that I threw that I'll never forget. I was playing with Ken Climo at the USDGC, and we were on hole 888. I'm not exactly sure what year it was, but I wasn't having a very good round, and I think I went like last on the box, and I went for it like down the middle. And if you've ever seen 888 or played the hole, there's so many different ways you can attack the hole. A lot of people just go mid-range, right down the middle of the road, safe. And this is before the changes this year. And some people would go like roller to go big. Some people go big hyzer. But this time I went down the middle as hard as I could with my fastest driver, and I threw it so far. Max distance shot down the middle of that fairway, and I didn't even think about it. Like I just did it, and I got off the tee pad, and I wasn't excited about it because I was having such a bad round. And Ken Climo says to me as I sit down on my chair, he goes, "That's the best shot I've ever seen on this hole, and nobody's ever going to throw a better shot than that." And to have Ken Climo tell you something like that, it made me think, and it made the whole round different. My whole outlook really almost on disc golf at that point, because for him to say that to me, he's won the tournament I think like 6 times, and just to have that compliment from Ken Climo, the best player ever to live, it just stuck
That
with me.
shot's not on camera, is it?
No, and I'll just never forget it because of Ken Climo. If you know Ken Climo, he'll tell you nice shot. He'll say things like that, but it's rare that he gives a compliment like that. Like that's the best shot that he's seen on the hole. He's played the hole more times than probably anybody. And
Yeah,
so I'll never forget
Climo
that
does
shot.
dish out compliments. He'll give out compliments when they're earned. He doesn't just do it just to have basically just to fill the air. So when you've earned a compliment from Ken Climo, it feels good, and he's definitely he's given me a compliment that I'll never forget as well. He's just things that he said to me in the past are just I don't need to necessarily share them, but like they just basically were just when he says things like that, the best of all time, it resonates. So that must have been a really special shot.
Yeah, it deserves to be remembered, and just it's Ken Climo, and coming off the back end of his Open career, really, to be able to play a few rounds with him and compete with him, like I think a lot of people really underestimate how special that really is because he's the greatest of all time. He'll always be remembered as the greatest of all time. Yeah. And I think that's part of the reason why that I'll never forget that shot. But it's Ken Climo.
I think that I think it's really cool that both of our first stories about our shots though are both on camera. What we'll have to do is we'll have to get a link at the bottom of the page so that when this goes live, we can link to those shots that we both mentioned. I'm sure most of you at this point have seen Paul's ace, but far fewer of you have actually seen the shot at Am Worlds 2008. It's kind of in the middle of this 10-minute long video, so we'll get the time and when the video or when the shot happens and the link set up so that when you guys listen to this, you can check that out for yourself.
And Brady, is there any way that we could get you? I know it might take a while, but do you think you could maybe even reenact the 34-footer that you made?
I was gonna share another one I thought of while you guys were talking. The hole was about 250 feet wide open. The OB was left, right near the basket, right? And
Ken Climo was sleeping in Florida.
Ken Climo was and I throw this shot, man, and it lands really close and then just barely goes OB, and I tapped in for 3. It was.
Oh man, the life of an average Joe, Jerm. What do you think?
Oh, geez. Hey, there's small battles. We all have our, we all have our thing. So good for Brady for having that par.
I actually think my highlight of the year was back-to-back aces in Paul's face 2 days in a row in April.
I did see that.
After he
see
said
that.
the ace fund with me twice. He refused to put the ace fund twice, and I got it both times.
I'm like, nope, not gonna happen. Ace, the worst shots I've ever seen go in my whole life. 50-mile-an-hour winds, like both rounds, right? Wasn't it windy both times you aced?
Yeah, it was a little nutty. Probably won't ever happen again.
God, you sound so
man.
salty right now, Paul. Jeez Louise.
And the craziest thing is, first round with him, I spit out again dead center for 3 in 3 rounds.
Yeah, he basically aces every time I play with him, only because I refuse to split with him because he's an average Joe. How is he going to ace every time I play with him?
Well, that's what average Joes do. Pros don't get aces anymore. I hardly ever get aces, as you are all very well aware of by now, I'm sure.
You really look at aces.
Funny story is, you posted like a few weeks ago when you got your win in Florida, where you won by like 45 or whatever. And you're like, finally, not the bridesmaid. And so I was like so excited about like seeing this on camera and like, oh, sweet, he's going to be on ESPN. That's what I thought. Then it's like this like fakey like video like from a phone, like 2 megapixels.
Dude.
I'm like, wow, that's really cool.
Hey, you know what?
Dude.
The cool thing about that video is that the guy literally didn't record any other shots the rest of the tournament. He just pulled his phone out for that one shot. He knew something special was about to happen. I swear to God. And this guy was from Finland, too. He was coming down to help run the event. And he saw me step up to the shot, and he was like, I got to record this. And he did. And so it's not a great quality shot in terms of seeing what actually happens. But you know what? I'll take what I can get for now. You know, maybe one day I'll get an ace at a major to win or something, you know, and then I'll finally get my redemption. But
maybe
I'll leave the aces for average Joes to get, though, for now.
All right. Kind of it for me. I don't know about you guys. Everything else you want to talk about?
Thank you for thanks for the topics, Brady, and for the viewers throwing some awesome questions.
Shout out to Crinkleberry.
Yeah. I really, honestly, Jerm, I really hope that you somehow get better and you're able to play this weekend. And I know America's rooting for you, man, and we all want to see you compete. And
best
of luck.
I want to say thanks for that, Paul, and thanks for everybody who voted for me to be on the league card for the first round of the major. I'm going to do what I can.
All 6 of them. Sorry.
Yeah, actually, 1,300 people voted for me, Paul. So, no, there was a lot of people who voted, and so I really do appreciate that. That love there means so much to me, and I'm going to try to get outside today. I'm going to try to walk around and see how I feel, and I'm not going to push it too much because it's supposed to be 100-degree heat tomorrow. So, if you're feeling dizzy and lightheaded and you're dehydrated, 100-degree heat doesn't necessarily sound that appealing, but I'm gonna do whatever I can.
You feel better, Jerm? Tell us how the future is. I'm looking forward to catching up tomorrow with where you are today, you know? So
Yeah, sure. I'm just glad that that they invented these time traveling phones so I could talk to you people back in the past. It's really interesting.
Can you take a picture with a koala, please?
Don't come back.
Pamphlet.
Oh my God! Hey, everyone, thanks for tuning in this week. Send in your questions. Please send in your responses to where you think the future of the game is going, and we love any sort of interaction that we have with you guys. And thanks for tuning in again. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Till next week.